How's everybody doing today? Imagine you are working for General Motors and you've just been notified that you're getting laid off. Okay, so now you're struggling to pay bills, keep a roof over your head, and get money and have money. Meanwhile, the CEO of General Motors is getting billions of dollars in bailout money and going to the Bahamas for a 2-week vacation. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me pretty upset, and that's why today I'm going to be talking about the pay gap between the average worker and executives of companies. First, I'll be talking about how much money more they're actually getting, why I believe this is happening, and finally, ways we might be able to stop, this from continuing to grow. First off, a couple quick stats. In 1980, executives were only making 35% more than the average worker, but in 2005, that number jumped to 262%. To put these numbers in perspective, that means if in 1980 minimum wage was $8, the average worker only made $40,000 a year, while the CEO made $1,400,000. In 2005, the executive made $10,480,000, while the average worker still made about 40. So that's a big difference. That's $9 million more. In 1980, some people will say, well, that's kind of far, so I can see why in 2008 we need that much money. In 1995, it was still only about 120% more, so in 5 years it still jumped quite a big of a percentage. I believe the reason CEOs have been able to continue to get more and more money is because we, as the working class or the middle class, are letting it happen. I think we've become the society that believes if we just work hard enough, we'll get promotions, and sooner or later we'll be that CEO, or we'll be making close to that much money, which, in my opinion, is totally false. I think you can only work so hard until you get stuck at a certain job position. And even if you're making $100,000 and you're living pretty comfortably, these CEOs are still making billions of dollars, and I don't think that's right. And some people will argue that CEOs deserve to make this much money because they work hard and they went to school, and I think that's totally false. I think that the working class should be making more. I think we should tell Congress and just do things and almost demand that we should be getting paid more than minimum wage. If these guys can afford to, fire all these people but are still bonusing millions of dollars, how much would $100 million, how many people would that keep in employment? So I think we should stop this attitude that, he's the boss and I'm the worker, and if I work, I can be the boss too. I think we need to be a little more selfish and really work for our right to earn the money we deserve as far as being hardworking people. So yeah, we should. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that sucks. Wow. course. Well, we're okay. You just got it in here, and you were supposed to evaluate the speech that just went, so a little screwed on that one, aren't we? Well, that's okay. You know, let's see, is there somebody else? Anthony, could you maybe evaluate that, and then Rolake can do John's speech?
Yeah, sure.
You know, just tell us what you thought.
Well, I thought you made good eye contact, but it seemed like you didn't get enough practice in before today, so it seemed like you needed a lot more practice, and there were just a lot of awkward stops where you had to look at your paper, and that I think for me was kind of distracting because then I was trying to follow like your ideas, and I think you kind of conveyed your thesis throughout the speech. So I think most of all you just needed a lot more practice, and then it could have been just that much more stronger. Aside from that, I thought it was an interesting topic, pretty relevant to us. I mean, because we are all, I'm sure most of us work in here, and we want to make more money for sure. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. I think you need to look at us as you're giving that opening question and then actually come up with the visualization. The visualization is the attention device. The opening question is kind of a distraction, but even then when you're not really looking at us. You're looking in the direction of the audience, and you do that a lot. You have a tendency to kind of look out in the direction but not really engaging people, so that's something that you want to watch out for. The topic is clearly identified. Your point of view needs to be a little bit sharper. That there should be something done to rein in executive pay, or what you see as being excessive executive pay. That's the way that phrase needs to be, or that claim needs to be phrased. So we know, here's the point I'm going to try and convince you of. Now, I thought you started off with some good statistical information, although you had a little bit of trouble delivering that statistical information. You got lost in it. But there's some good information about the differential between what the executive pay levels were 30 or 40 years ago. 30 years ago, I know, 1980. That's easy for me to remember. It's my anniversary. All right, 30 years ago. And today, I thought that those were good statistics. What you need to show, though, is that there's some consequence to that. Well, you say you don't think it's right. Okay, well, that's your opinion. Why is your opinion correct? What negative consequence is there? What is unfair about it? Is it you know, that they are benefiting as a consequence of something that they didn't have any influence over or power on, or it's exploitive of the system in some way? That's what you need to show. Otherwise, you know, you could say the same thing about 1,000 other things too. I mean, I think of every football player, basketball player, baseball player, you name it. What the heck is, you know, that person making that much money for in comparison to what they were making 30 years ago, for instance? Why is it so much higher? Well, you may or may not think that that's fair also, but you got to give us a reason why. Okay. You know, that it's, you know, inflation is not enough to account for it. It's not just based on what is competitive and what the market will bear. There's something else. There are incentives built in that are exploitive, or some problem like that. Otherwise, it just seems like you're mouthing off because you're pissed off because you're not getting as much as the other folks do, and I'm not sure that that's really a strong enough justification for the federal government to start regulating people's salaries. I think that that's a little bit iffy. Okay. Although if they do, they should start regulating Kobe, because, you know, he should go lower on the list. You know, anybody who gets arrested should have their pay cut in half. I think that's just a rule. Anybody who gets, you know, arrested for drunk driving, cut it in half again. I don't know, something like that. All right.